Compassion is putting yourself in someone else's shoes and better understanding what their life is like. One of the most meaningful experiences I've ever had in actually developing compassion, walking in someone else's shoes, happened here at this church in a training session that we did. For those of you who aren't familiar, our church has 4 affiliated nonprofits. We have the day school for preschool-age children. We have the First Street Methodist Mission, First Street in Henderson. We have the Methodist Justice Ministry, which provides legal aid for women and children who need no-cost legal services. And then we also have Dementia Friendly Fort Worth. It's our newest nonprofit. You may not be as familiar with it. Dementia Friendly Fort Worth does efforts to equip and to serve people who have dementia and their caregivers. It also does a lot to raise awareness in the broader community about how to work with and best serve people who are experiencing dementia and those who love them, because that's a huge part of our shared life and our shared community. And one of the things that they do is they have training sessions so that a person who doesn't have any of the symptoms of advanced aging or dementia can try to better understand what life is like if that's something you're working with. And so that was the training session that we went through here at the church. Dementia Friendly set it up for us. It was fascinating. It was in one of our Sunday school classrooms. And what happened is you waited in the hallway, and then Gail, the director of Dementia Friendly Fort Worth, she got you ready. And one of the things she did was she put some kind of thicker, heavier gloves on your fingers that kind of helped simulate what it's like if you can lose a little bit of fine motor control and some dexterity as you age. So your hands have gloves on. She put some kind of glasses on you that can replicate what it is to have some astigmatism or some reduced clarity in eyesight that so many people experience in advanced age. And then the fascinating thing that I had never thought of is she put a pair of headphones over your ears. And in your right ear, it's playing a news broadcast, like what you would hear on the radio or on cable news. And that's playing in your right ear. And in your left ear is exactly the same thing, but a completely different broadcast. It's a completely different speaker on a completely different topic, a completely different tone. So you've got these glasses on, you've got these gloves on, and in your ears, you've got these completely different messages that are coming in, interspersed with some tones and some beeps and things like that that are really disconcerting. This kind of mirrors what the neurological experience can be like of someone who has dementia. One of the things that she then does is kind of help you understand what it's like to actually try to communicate in the midst of this. And you still can communicate a little bit. You can communicate with someone pretty easily if they've gotten your attention, if they've stood right in front of you, and if they've spoken clearly and slowly enough that you can hear them through those challenges. You're able to communicate back a little bit. And when you go into the room, she has all different sorts of activities that are set up. There's puzzles, there's games, there's electronic devices, there's household chores like sorting cutlery or clothes. And you realize pretty quickly some of these are a lot easier and a lot more stimulating than others. And before you walk in, she gives you a job. But when she gives you a job before you go into that room, she gives it to you by standing behind you and just whispering kind of quietly. One of the things you may not know about me, because there's no reason for me to share it very often, is I really struggle to discern voices out of the midst of noise. You know, like talking in a crowded room or a crowded restaurant or something like that. I really struggle to pick things out. So when she gave me instructions, I didn't even know that she was giving me instructions. I didn't know that was a part of the simulation. I just walked into the room. And I got to the room, and there were all these different activities and things set out. And other people were like working diligently at their stations, doing their jobs. I didn't even know that was a part of the simulation. So I just did whatever I wanted to do and started doing puzzles and things along those lines. I realized puzzles were actually something that was engaging. I could kind of do it and make it happen. Things like electronic devices were no good. TV was no good. We walked back out, and it was incredibly informing. To be able to walk in someone else's shoes with something like dementia was so incredibly transformative. It was funny on the way out. This is a side note. I have to tell you. She said, everyone on our staff went through this training. Every one of our staff was given a job to do. And every one of the staff went into that room and did their job except 2 people. There were 2 people on our staff who didn't do any job and just did whatever they wanted. And those 2 people were Lance Marshall and Tim Brewster. Because we just didn't know. And that is such a metaphor for what life at this church is like. Our staff is just amening all over the room. While we were doing that training, my grandmother Dotsie was 99 years old. Her sister Patsy was 92. Dotsie and Patsy, my whole life, have been a core part of my life. And Dotsie and Patsy had experienced advanced aging, and they were both experiencing signs of dementia. They were having differences in who they were and how they were able to communicate. I had had a chance through this training to actually walk a mile in their shoes, and for the first time ever, I was able to understand the difference between making eye contact and being in front of them and speaking loudly and clearly versus how isolated they felt when people were just talking around them and not making a real connection. Does that make sense? I saw the difference between how much fun it was for us to sit and do a puzzle together versus how alienating it was for us to sit and watch television together. I had a chance to actually have a little bit of experience in her shoes, and that compassion helped us connect and form a real engagement that transformed the last few years of our relationship together. Patsy made it to 93. Dotsie made it to 100. They're with the choir eternal now. I can't wait to see them again. And I'm so thankful for that exercise and how it helped me make a connection with them when we seemed like we would never be able to bridge it.